Ah, yo, everybody. Yo. Theme music for today. I will tell you about it later. But welcome. Before I get into it, first off, let me just say I am in a white void. I have no idea how the sound will be. I know there's a lot of echo now that you see that there's nothing behind me anymore. Um, there is a I just got a great text message about today's about today's talk. But anyways, let me know if you can hear me all right. Let me know if the echoes isn't too bad. Um, as you may or may not be able to tell, I'm actually redoing my whole office. I was living in a pigsty. It was all my fault. I'm trying to get organized. Well, no, I will be organized. And I'm actually excited for the changes that come. But as I said, right now, there's a lot of craziness going on, a lot of mess. So hopefully you can hear me okay. You can see me okay. Let me know in the comments if so. Other than that, let's get to it. Because today I'm going to talk about, is title insurance a scam? And if it's a scam, why do people use it? And do we need it as we invest in vacant land properties? Before I get into it, let me give you a bit of a story. Two stories actually. The first one happened to my mentor. Turns out he was buying an investment property some odd years back. Who know? I don't remember the exact time he was buying the property, but it was an actual home in I think Cleveland, maybe it was Columbus. It was somewhere in Ohio. And so as he's going through the whole process of buying an investment home, and you go to the title companies and you do all the things, everything was going okay. They say, yeah, it has our stamp of approval. Here you go. And it turns out there was a lien on the property, something that they didn't find. And he was like, hey, wait, what's going on? Like, why didn't you find this? Well, what could we do? And they're like, oh, sorry, it's your problem now. He's like, wait, what do you mean? Why do you think I hired you guys to do this job? And it was like, well, if you look at the clause that we have, if there are some that we don't find while we're doing our search, we're not liable for it. And you signed that contract. And for an example of that, you can go ahead and look at the example I posted a few days ago, and it will show you exactly what it is. In fact, I can probably bring that up for you as well. I don't know how to share my screen yet, so sorry about that. But the point is, he paid a lot of money and went through a lot of headache. Also, people they wouldn't necessarily do the things that he needed. And he brought up a good question, like, how is this insurance? You get insurance to kind of protect from the unforeseen, from a situation that you couldn't prepare for. That's why you get insurance. Well, the unforeseen happened. I paid you, and now you're just leaving me high and dry. Now, if you've ever used title insurance, be it from your own home, maybe you've done land investing before, and I do know quite a bit of land investors actually do use title insurance, which is actually baffling for me because even back in the day when I learned, people were only recommending title insurance when you have properties that were worth a lot of money. So I don't know, maybe these folks that are using title insurance, they're doing deals for like $60,000 properties. Who knows? But within it, as I've seen, like there's exclusion from coverage, right? And one of them is defects, liens, and encumbrances, adverse claims, or other matters created, suffered, or assumed, or agreed by the insurance claimant. Not known by the company, not recorded in public record, that data policy. That's the big one right there. Not known by the company, not recorded by data policy. We'll get into that later. But that's the clause they use to get themselves out of it. So now he paid the money to do the title insurance and to do the title search, but basically got nothing out of it. The next story is one I have that I'm going through currently. I kind of complained about this in the group maybe last week. I sold some properties in December. If you look back at some of the other live streams, I told you about a property I was going through. I bought for cheap. It had extremely high HOA. So I went against my best interest. Somebody came through a realtor like, hey, we want to buy these properties, but my client only wants to go through title insurance. And normally when I say, sure, as long as they pay for it all, I don't want nothing to do with it. And I explain why. Most people kind of rethinking like, you know what, why spend that extra money? I'm just going to get the property. I'm like, great. But in this case, they went through with it. So I sold the properties a few days before Christmas. I've yet to get paid for two of them. I got paid for one, not the other. Now, in that process, they did find a mistake that I overlooked. The mistake took one phone call to correct. Very quick, very simple. It took me 30 seconds. However, because of how picky title companies can be, that wasn't necessarily good enough for them. It's good enough for the law, but it wasn't good enough for them. Go figure. It was a semantics about how something was written from the lien holder, that the lien was removed 10 years ago. That the person who put the lien on the property never did their job of recording it and putting it on public record. We had that taken care of. They're like, well, it didn't say it the way we would like it to say it. So I don't know what's going on. But the point is, I'm not getting paid. And you know what else that shows me? They have the access to the same stuff I have access to. But I'll get into that in a minute. So with that said, when you're going through and you're looking for a property in general, and I'm telling you not to use title insurance, well, what do you do instead? Well, I'm here to tell you that you can get title insurance through yourself. It's not really title insurance. You're just going to be doing the same work that a title officer would do. And honestly, it's very simple. I do this work within my regular due diligence when I'm buying a property. And sometimes this portion of the work is the smallest portion. It's very quick and easy to do. Momentarily, I will go through the steps of what you should be looking for when you're buying a property. And the beautiful thing is, it's not just for vacant land. This works for anything. Because of the rules I'm about to tell you, it doesn't just apply to one type of property or the other. So when you're going through this, or hell, even if you're using title insurance for something else and you're like, you know what, I heard what you said, but I'd rather do something else, then go ahead and do it, but understand what they're doing and that you can at least know if they're doing a good job or not. So my question first, before I get into the steps that you're going to look for, is if the title insurance companies have the same access to the same information as you, and they may have some tools to help them automate certain processes, or maybe have a direct line of communication to certain people at the county or other government officials, or whatever it is, why do they take so long? To be honest, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Like, why does it take 30 days to close? Why does it take 45 days to close on a property? Now, I get it for a house. A lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of inspections that need to happen, certain rules and guidelines and stuff, because someone's going to be living in a structure and they want to make sure that someone's not going to buy something that's unsafe. I get it. But why do those same rules apply for vacant land? I'm not sure. Why do they drag their feet so much? Well, that problem is because it's not their property. They don't really care. They're just doing their job. Okay, I get it. Now, is it a scam? I think scam, I said scam, and at the time I was feeling that way, but I think that's a little bit strong. I think the best way to put it is, I see title insurance and those title insurance agents as like a car dealership, where if you are able to go directly to the manufacturer like you can from when you're buying a Tesla, for example, it's a quicker and easier process. There's no middleman in between. But the title insurance company, they kind of insert themselves there and then ask for a premium in the process. And when they're doing their service, if you're totally ignorant to what you're looking for, you're totally ignorant to the law, the service can be good, but I don't know. That's what happens when you're ignorant. You pay for that ignorance. But when you do know what you're doing, you see how much of a, I don't want to say waste, but how much money you're flushing down the toilet. Basically, after I'm going to show you what I'm about to show you in a minute, they're basically doing what you've already done, but they're asking you to pay them $1,000 for, $1,500 for, $2,000. I guess it depends on whatever it is. And if you're okay with paying money to somebody else to do something you've already done, hey, by all means, it's your money, it's your bottom line. But me, it's not how I roll. So here are the steps that I use to verify before I go buying a property. And again, it's all in public record. So it's everything that you can find out right now on how to do this. First things first, you got to find out if the person that you are speaking with and that you're dealing with is on the deed of the title, the current deed of the property. Now, just like a title company do, you go to the public records and you pull up the most recent deed. It will tell you exactly who is on it, because it says, hey, this is sold to so-and-so, it's this property at this acres, blah, 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 right? So you check that out. Now, many times in this business, you may be dealing with somebody who inherited property, and so it's not in their name, and there's ways to get the title transferred. Will a title company do that transfer? Depending on how much you pay them. Sometimes they just alert you to what's there. Other times you pay them a little bit more, they will actually do the transfer for you. But it's not really worth that. Next thing to do, is when you're looking up the deed for the county records, you need to be looking up other documents that come up under their name. Now, when you're working in any county, everything is online. So it's not like you have to go to the county or anything like that. All you have to do is go to the county's recorder's website, and within the recorder's website, you can do a document search. And normally you can search through those documents from the person's name that you're dealing with. So if John Smith owned the property, you're trying to buy from John Smith, you look up his name. Now, when you look up their name, you're going to see more than just the deed that comes up. And depending on the website and the county, sometimes their search sucks, and there's a ways around it. But the point is, you'll see more than their deed. And what you're looking at is every single thing that comes up, and you got to search through that. Now, a lot of times for most people, it's only 2 documents, 1 document, 3 documents, so it doesn't take a lot of time. But you're making sure that everything that you see within those documents, be it a deed, be it like maybe a lease to water rights, be it, I don't know, non-payment of taxes and they put a lien on the property, be it they have a lien because they haven't paid child support or there's divorce decrees or whatever else, you'll see all that. And within that, you have to be careful that any document that's not a deed doesn't list the property in question in there as like some kind of collateral. So, for example, if the person you're buying for, John Smith, owns a home and he also owns the vacant land that you're after, and you go and you're looking up the documents and you see that the home, maybe they didn't pay taxes, maybe they just defaulted on their mortgage, whatever it is, if there may be a lien or anything on that property, make sure that the land that you're looking for isn't included as collateral. I've had that happen. That's what happened recently. Where basically I'm like, okay, this lien is for a different property, not the one I'm interested in, and the lien is always carried with the property, not the owner. I'm like, great. But what I didn't see was that, like, hey, we're holding these other pieces of property as collateral. Meaning like, hey, we're going to make sure that we're going to get our money back, because we're going to basically hold all your assets that we can do that with. And when if you don't see anything with the property in question, you're probably good to go. It doesn't matter if they have liens on other properties. It's only the property that you're interested in. So as you're looking through that, you look at that. If there's like a divorce decree, for example, make sure that the property didn't get split up between them and their spouse, or didn't go to their spouse altogether. Because guess what? If that's the case, well, by law, you're not dealing with the person who owns the property anymore. You're dealing with someone who used to own the property, who lost it in the divorce. So that means you'll have to actually like, hey, John Smith, it says here that you got divorced. And when you got divorced, your wife, Sally, she got the property. So you're not at liberty to sell something you don't own. So you can either cut the deal, end the deal there, or it's like, hey, you have Sally's information. Maybe you guys can work something out where I can pay you both, split the offer price in half or whatever it is. So the point is, you're looking at all the documents that you can see, and usually it's only like 1, 2 documents, 3. It's not a lot, and these aren't 40-page documents. They're like a page, 2 pages, 3 pages. Very simple, very easy to read through. And in fact, if you're not careful, because it's so simple, again, that's how you can miss something like the way I missed something. You just got to make sure you just read it carefully. Take the 5 minutes to read the damn document. It doesn't take long. Make sure that the document, the document in question isn't talking about the property you're looking for. All right, next. What you want to do after that point, right? You got the person there. Nobody else can claim the property, because it didn't get passed or stolen or whatever it is. Look up the chain. So see who owned the property before your current owner, and then before them, and before them, always back as far as you can do. This is a title chain. This is what a lot of title search is. The reason why we do that is the same reason I kind of just brought up a minute ago with like the divorce example. You want to make sure that somewhere along the line, somebody else does not have claim to that property. Now, this is the funny thing. One time, I think this happened in May of 2020. I was actually buying some property in Texas. And as I was doing this work I was describing to you now, I saw that the person I'm buying from sold some other vacant land property to another land investor. However, this land investor ain't working with me because they did something that was pretty illegal. Now, I'm sure they didn't know it was illegal. That's why they did it that way. But it was funny that the county didn't recognize it, and then even then they won't change it until they change who actually looks at these transfers. So what this person did, and this is funny, they understood that the person inherited the property. So And they also understood that the paperwork, the probate paperwork, was recorded in a different county than where the property is. So they just said a deed like, hey, yeah, James Smith now owns this property, and you could look up a deed or some recording in some other county document number, this, that, and the other. Well, that's illegal. You can't reference another county's paperwork. What you have to do is take that same paperwork and record it in the county in question. However, they did not catch it. And when I told the county, I'm like, hey, that because it seems kind of fishy. I'm like, well, can I do that? Because I don't want to have to pay for a recording fee. The recording fee is like $8, so it wasn't that big a deal. I'm like, and there'll be less time. But they're like, oh, I think it'll be okay. But the problem is, it's not okay. And guess what's going to happen? The county will eventually realize their mistake. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 5 years for them to realize the mistake. And guess what happens at that point? They take the property back and they say the transfer that said was supposed to happen is null and void and the original owner has it. So when you're doing a title chain and you're looking back and seeing who owned the property before and before and before, you're making sure something stupid like that hasn't happened. Because if I have a property and I acquire it with an illegal, transfer, be it because I was just ignorant to the law or whatever, and I sell it to somebody else and then they sell it, well, guess what happens when they find out the mistake that I made? The original person I bought it from gets it. So the person I sold it to and the person who bought it from them, they lose all rights to the property. So as an investor, you may have to pay those people back. And now you got a little egg on your face. Now, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. But as I was saying, as you're going back through the chain, you're just looking to see who owned it, any weird discrepancies, anything anybody else can claim like, hey, I own this property and here's my paperwork. You're just checking that out. And for the most part, especially with these vacant land properties, depending on the area, the chain isn't long because a lot of times the area gets subdivided. They're like, all right, this is going to be the next great thing. They do it. Next thing you know, they sell the property to people who are supposed to, fill out the area and they're going to build their homes on it and whatnot. And like, yeah, don't worry, amenities are coming, roads are coming, stores are coming, and they don't come. And then so these people, they own these properties for 30 years, 40 years, and they've done nothing with it. And, when I come along to buy the property, it's like, all right, cool. I'll buy it from you. And I'm looking back and I can see after like one or two deeds, that's the end of it, end of the chain. Because it was originally created and then no one did anything with it. So when you're doing this title chain, you don't have to worry about going through 50 deeds, like a house may have, because houses are older and they also have a lot more people who will pass hands to them because people want to live in houses. So you're just looking back two or three deeds, and guess what? Boom, you already know the title chain. You know who owns it, and you can easily see by looking at rules 1 and 2. Hey, is there anybody with an illegal claim to the property or not? Usually there's not. You're good to go. All right. Next, while you're there, see if they owe any taxes. Especially when it comes to forms of liens and things like that. You're already in the public record. Go ahead and see if they're on any list. Again, once you type in their name, a lot of this information will come right up. And you just kind of see the different document types, kind of read through them real quick and just see if they apply to you or not. But you can look at the tax situation. Sometimes when you do look at a tax situation, maybe you'll go to the tax site, you will see that they paid taxes for a certain year, but they didn't pay maybe in 2016, for example. Sometimes that happens where they get behind, or maybe because the property got transferred from one person to the next, or the original person had it, they're sick, or they pass away and their kids inherit it, so they start taking care of the taxes. Well, they may not have realized that other taxes were missing. If that property is within an HOA, homeowners association, or POA, property owners association, same thing can happen. Instead of taxes, it could be property owner dues that the person who inherited the property didn't know about. So it's another thing that you can look out for. And the reason why you want to look out for the HOA or the POA stuff is because they too can put a lien on the property, and it should be recorded on public record, but in case it's not, or whatever, it will be. That's the only way it's legal. But to get more information, you can easily just call up the HOA or the POA and be like, hey, I see that John Smith didn't, they're delinquent in taxes, or they didn't pay their dues. What can we do to fix this? And then once you pay the dues, and here's a pro tip from me. When you're dealing with the HOA or POA, you can also talk down the dues that are owed. Like, hey, look, I'm going to buy the property. I'm going to pay off the dues. Work with me on this. I actually did this a couple months ago, actually. Somebody owed about $1,100 worth of HOA fees. I was like, hey, I'm about to buy the property from this guy. I need this lien removed. I can send you a check for $800 right now and get that. And they're like, good, so done. And the reason why they're doing that because they just want their money. A lot of times these HOAs and POAs, they're not these giant corporations. There's just a band of people banding together trying to protect their investment interests. Regular folks like you and me. So they'll gladly take a portion of it, of that payment. In my case, $800 rather than 1,100 because as it stands, they were going to get shit from that person anyways. They're just going to let the property, lax, get auctioned off, and now they have nothing. But me coming along, cleaning that up, paying that $800, boom, made it nice and easy. So again, you checking all that out, making sure no one else have any claims, because that's what it is when you have a lien on it. Basically saying, hey, you owe me money. I'm taking a piece of that property until you pay me my money, then I'll release it. Once they have that, you're looking through the chain, you're looking through all that, making sure it's good. When they have the lien on it, just make sure like, hey, is there a release for this lien that was also recorded to say, we're all good, debts are paid? If not, get on the phone, call some people up, like, hey, what's going on with this? Let's make a deal. There's also work from code enforcement liens. So basically, someone didn't cut their grass, or they just broke the rules of the county because whatever reason. You can call the county like, hey, I'm about to buy the property. Could we make a deal? Again, they'll take anything. I'm not gonna say anything. They're likely to make a deal with you because again, if you don't make that deal, they're not gonna get anything. So they'd rather get something rather than nothing. This is another pro tip. Yeah, and last thing, no matter what you find, especially when it comes to liens, taxes, and all that, you probably already made a deal. We talked last week about how you can start to negotiate down and get things cheaper and all that. But there are times when you can actually say, all right, I want to give you 500 instead of 750. You make a deal. You're doing this due diligence. You find some more information. You're like, look, I can only give you because of this information. I'll take care of this problem for you, but I can only give you instead of the 250. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I had this problem. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, go ahead and do it. I've already, became sold to the idea of selling the property to you. And the property that I'm going through with the title company now, that's the situation that happened. I was going like 1,100 per property. I was totally prepared to pay that. Found out they owe some liens and back taxes. I kept talking it down, and then as I did more research, I'm like, look, dude, I can give you 250 per lot. He's like, sold. So it worked out in that sense, but I'm still waiting to get my money from this title company. But the point is, everything that I showed you is what a title company does. And this information that I shared with you, it, as I said, like due diligence for a property is more than just looking up the title, more than looking up the title chain, more than looking up there's liens and things like that. It's just, and it's just knowing what you're about to buy. And when you understand these things, you understand that a title company doesn't really add anything to the equation. Like, what can they do that I can't do? Very few things, if anything. But they're still asking you for a premium for the service. Now, again, if you're ignorant to the law and you're ignorant to these things, I get it, right? You don't know what you're doing. You're afraid. You don't believe in yourself because you don't listen to my inspiration. I get it, right? But I'd rather take the time, learn a little bit, and again, it's not a ton, to make sure you can save money and save time. Think about if you have to do this you have to pay a title company and wait 30 days every time you want to buy a property. So you buy a property, you talk them down, you get them down to like 750, and then you got to pay $2,000 for a fucking title insurance. Get the fuck out of here. Who wants to do that? Nobody. And not only, so now you went from a $750 property to $2,700, so $2,700 for a property that's worth $750, and you got to wait 30 days before you can do anything, and you got to make the seller do more things than they would if you just do things my way. How many deals do you think you're going to get per month? You're not going to get very many. You're going to be stuck wondering why people aren't, taking my offers. Why aren't people doing the things that I need them to do? Why am I making any money? Because you're making it too difficult for people to give you money. You're getting in the way, and you're allowing a title company to get in the way of you getting paid. They're going to get paid because you're paying them. But they're going to take their time to do their thing, and because money loves speed, you're not going to get any money. This is exactly why I say title insurance is overrated and probably a scam. Now, I've already read the basically saying title insurance isn't really insurance. How are you going to insure something and then like, oh, the unexpected happened. Sorry, you're screwed. But there's one last piece of information that a lot of these title company contracts have, and it's an arbitration clause. And if you don't know, arbitration is basically instead of going to court, uh, you have your lawyers meet and you guys kind of make a deal a little bit. And you have an arbitrator who could be like technically a judge, but it's not really a judge. But it's just a way to settle things out of court, in arbitration. And a lot of times they'll have an arbitration clause, meaning like, look, if there's a dispute or some kind of thing that you're unhappy with, and you're not allowed to sue us. So if we fuck up on our job and if it costs you money, you can't sue us. We got to go to arbitration, and then we get to choose how we do arbitration. So we get to choose the rules of how we settle this. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't see how that protects, my interest. Maybe you see how it protects your interest. The only interest I see is protected is the title company. Again, they're inserting themselves into a process that they're unneeded for. So, with that said, if you know what I believe with title insurance, I'm going through it now, so I just reaffirm my own belief and my own business, basically best practices by going through it, so you don't have to go through it. But you can see how you can do this yourself. How long does this process take? Well, the title, just looking at the deed and all that, and getting copies, and I'm gonna get official copies. I just need to see the information so I can make my own deed. Roughly 15 minutes per property, and then another 15 minutes getting other information like, where the property is, photos, things that is gonna help me sell the property. Which also kind of I can use as a bargaining chip. Like, oh damn, I can see from Google that this lot is full of trees. That's gonna cost money to remove. I'm gonna have to lower my offer price. But anyways, you can see how that works, and you can see how you don't need it. And basically, every time you do this, the more confidence you gain. Because again, it seems scary at first because people make a big deal about title insurance, especially when you're buying a home. I'm letting you know it's nothing. It is no big deal. It is something you can do. In fact, I would need to look this up, but I don't think you don't need like a special degree or anything like that to do this work, like as a professional. I don't know if you need a certification or not. I'll look that up and find out. But if that's the case, well, what does that tell you? Then you should be able to do this no problem on your own. And it really is. Now, what do you do if you're scaling your business and you have more than one or two properties per day? You can outsource this. Now, I would say careful to outsource this. There's a lot of people who can do this, especially on, from overseas. They won't care about your business the way you care. So if they make a mistake, guess who that falls on? It's you, but you're the one that hired them in the first place. So if you vet them properly, you won't have these issues. But the point is, you can still pay someone to do this for you and not pay nowhere near the amount of money you'll pay a title insurance company for. Again, I don't know why I call it insurance because they don't really insure anything. Now, I may have went over some terms that you guys never have heard before. And if that's the case and you want to learn more, well, I'm actually pretty excited. I got some stuff I'm going to share. I've been working behind the scenes on something new, and it's really helped me. So I really want to start to pass this along to a lot of you guys. And I will give you more details about that in roughly a week and a half or so. I'm looking to kick off a whole new thing in February. I'm actually really excited about it. So if you want to learn more about how I do this stuff and how I can save so much time and money and protect myself with my own quote unquote title research or title insurance or whatever you want to call it, put in the comments below. I'll let you know how I do that. And I stand by my work, and that's why I sell most of my properties on a warranty deed. And if you don't know, warranty deed just means like, look, between now and the beginning of this property ever existing, every single transfer has been a legit one, a good one. Nobody else has encumbrances on the or a claim to the property, and I stand by that, and I will defend that claim. So if you want to learn how you can have such confidence in your business, save money, save time, and leave the people you sell to with a sense of confidence so they come back to you and buy from you over and over again, a lot of times now sight unseen, let me know. I have something for you. But with that said, I'm done. It has been just about 30 minutes. Thank you for listening to this. If you found this valuable, please share this with other people who are looking to get into real estate investing, because as I said, this isn't just for vacant land. It's either a vacant land just because less people have owned it, but same rules apply for houses or anything else. Are there more things to look for in houses? Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure there is. But it's the same process. It's just, instead of having a list of, okay, I'm looking for these things, maybe you add a couple more bullet points to the list. But if you found this valuable, please say so in the comments. Let me know. Other than that, your boy Coach Vic. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you stuck with me through my white void room. This is hella boring, and I know this is boring, but the info's good. So, other than that, good to see you. Peace.